In this tutorial, I am going to teach you how to use the reposition icon, and that is this one right here. And the reason you would want to do this is because what you're seeing on the screen is an entire quilt that's set up. It is an edge to edge with 4 rows. Now the blue sew zone is as big as it can be using the machine I have, and you can see that this is going to take 2 rolls of the machine, like 2 passes, 4 rows. So I will do 2 rows in each section. So I will stitch those first 2 rows, and then I will roll the quilt on and stitch the second 2 rolls. So at this point you can see these 2 are pink, they've been stitched already. These green ones are queued to go, but they will not be able to be stitched until they are within the blue box. Well, how do I adjust what is actually the case with my quilt to match what the computer thinks is the area to be sewn? That can be done with the reposition button. Now there are 2 ways to use reposition. There's drag and drop, and what that is I'm making the quilt match the computer, what the computer says. The other one is align quilt to grid, and in that case I'm making the computer adjust to what the quilt is. And for me, this one makes more sense, so that's what I'm going to do. I click on align quilt to grid. Now I have already rolled my quilt, and I actually have these 2 areas here up in the blue box, but you can see on the screen that my computer doesn't know that yet. It says use the mouse to select the point on the screen or pattern to use as a reference point. See, this point right here, like this, the bottom edge of this quilted area has been rolled up, and it's actually more like right up here. So if I align to this finished quilting, so I'm going to align myself to these stitches and then move the needle to that point, the blue box will jump. Now the first thing you can see I need to do is get in closer so I can see better. It says use this mouse to select the point. I want to put a little green dot right on the point that I decide. Now it is best if you choose a point that is in the middle, from right to left. Side to side, you want to be fairly close to the middle. So I'm going to use that little leaf thing. The point is an easily distinguishable place, and that's what I'm going to use. I will come up here and use this active zoom, and when I click that, my mouse, this arrow, can you see here it turned red? It is now a zoomer, not a selector. So when I click on this, it's going to zoom to the center of the screen. That's the point I'm after, and I'm going to keep clicking, click, 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 until I get right to that point. Now I am going to place a green dot right on that spot. Now I need to do a green dot with my mouse, and if I keep clicking, there's no green dot coming out. Well, that's because my mouse or selector right now is a zoomer. It is not a selector. So you have to remember to switch it back, and you do that by selecting the selection arrow. Now when I touch this point, I can put a green dot there. Now I'm going to zoom back out. Normally I don't zoom back out, I just move my needle to this finished point, but I want you to be able to see what is happening on the screen. So I'm going to click on this minus, zoom out so you can see. Now I'm going to move my machine, you can see my red arrow moving to where that point actually is. And it's not where it thinks it is because I have rolled the quilt further on. That point is actually located right there under my needle. If it helps you, you can even turn your flywheel and put your needle down and be exactly on that point. So I have moved the needle to where that little leaf is on the actual quilt, but on this screen they do not match up. When I click right here on align to quilt, watch what happens. The computer adjusts adjusts itself based on the location, the fixed point that I told it. So now I can stitch those 2 green rows. They are ready to go, and this is a true representation on the screen of my quilt on the frame. And so I have used the realign button to make it correct. So at that point, I must say accept. And before you say accept, you must say align to quilt. When you align to quilt, you will see this red X move to the correct point. If it does not move to the correct point, you need to select reset and start over. That will be your clue that yes, it did happen correctly, is you can see on the screen that it has happened correctly. And if you are not zoomed out or on full view, I suggest that you push full view, make sure it's right, then click accept. So I click accept, the dialog goes away, and I'm ready to stitch. You can also use this reposition button. If I was stitching along on this pattern, and sometimes something can happen, like let's say your clamp slipped off the edge and it let your quilt slip a bit. Or let's say you were halfway through a pattern or a row and you were just too tired, you had to go somewhere, and you turned the machine off, you saved it, and you come back the second day. The second day you need to line it up so it matches with what you've done. You can do this exact same process. So you say reposition, you pick any point on here. I'm going to change this to be active zoom, and I'll start clicking in. Let's say I want to line up with that point right here. I have to get that green, and that will be red, and I'll click into this point right here, and I can put my dot right on that point. So I would click in very, very close, because then it's easy to get your green dot right on the spot. Turn this back into a selector instead of a zoomer. I have to choose my repositioning method, so remember to always read your instructions right here. I select align quilt to grid. Now it says use the mouse to select the point. This is the point. Then I would move my needle to that point, and when it is on that point, I would say align to quilt, and the 2 of them will reconcile with each other and match up, and then I would click accept. You always want to click full view to make sure that that really happened. So I'm going to zoom in real close again, let you see what it looks like. So let's say I have my needle right on that little point, but when I look at the screen, the 2 do not match up. That is when I put my green dot and I click right here, align to quilt. My needle will jump to that spot. I always, before I click accept, I click on full view and I look at what I've got in front of me. If it matches the reality of the quilt, that's when I click accept, and you can start your pattern again.